Does this sound familiar? That uncomfortable crunching sound, or that persistent ache in your knee as you climb the stairs? Or perhaps you've simply accepted that morning stiffness is just part of your daily routine now. Millions of us believe that knee pain is simply a natural part of getting older, something we just have to live with. But what if I told you that this is one of the biggest myths about our health? Today, we're going to show you that knee pain doesn't have to be a life sentence. And we'll explore how you can kickstart your body's natural joint recovery, often without the need for expensive operations or injections. Stay with us, and you might just discover that your body is capable of far more than you ever imagined. Picture your knee joint as a perfectly engineered hinge, kept smooth and supple by a special fluid. This fluid, called synovial fluid, nourishes your cartilage and ensures everything glides effortlessly. The cartilage itself acts like a resilient cushion, preventing your bones from grinding against each other. When this intricate system is working as it should, you probably don't give your knees a second thought. But what happens when this finely tuned system starts to falter? What if there's less of that natural lubricant and that protective cushion begins to wear thin? That's precisely when the story of your knee pain often begins. And right now, we're going to explore how you can start to turn that story around. All right, let's tackle the biggest myth that almost everyone believes. The number one, and frankly, biggest mistake many of us make is blaming knee pain on old age. You've probably heard it 100 times, haven't you? And maybe you even say it yourself. Oh, well, what can you do? I'm not 20 anymore. Or, everyone gets a few aches and pains at my age. That kind of thinking sounds so logical, doesn't it? And it's quite comforting, in a way. It feels like it takes the pressure off. But let me tell you, it's actually a rather dangerous trap that stops you from getting your health back. Just pause and think for a moment. How is it that some 80-year-olds have knees that work better than 40-year-old office workers? Are they simply built differently? Or maybe, just maybe, it's not about the number of years you've lived at all. Think of your knee joint like a finely crafted Swiss watch. It's designed to work perfectly for decades without a single hitch. But what would happen if you constantly banged that watch against a wall, never oiled its gears, and poured sand into the mechanism? It would break down pretty quickly, wouldn't it? You wouldn't say, "Oh, the watch just got old." No! You'd say it was simply used incorrectly. It's exactly the same story with our knees. They don't just get old or wear out all on their own. We wear them out through things like improper walking, carrying too much weight, a sedentary lifestyle, and muscle imbalances. So please remember this once and for all. Age isn't a diagnosis, it's just a number. The real reason for your pain lies somewhere else entirely. And right now, we're going to start to figure it out together. Okay, so if age isn't the issue, what is? Perhaps it's that worn-out cartilage doctors often mention when they show you an X-ray. It seems perfectly logical. The cartilage wears down, bones rub against each other, and voila, pain. Well, actually, no. And here's a fact that might just shock you. The joint cartilage itself has no nerve endings. Get that? It physically cannot feel pain. It has no way to send pain signals to your brain. It's like expecting to feel pain when your hair is cut. So what does hurt then? It's everything else in the joint area that hurts. The joint's synovial membrane, the ligaments, muscles, even the bone, underneath, the cartilage. As cartilage thins, tiny microscopic particles can break off and enter the joint fluid. This triggers your body's protective response and inflammation sets in. And that inflammation is what's shouting, "Warning! Trouble ahead!" Pain isn't the sound of bones grinding. It's more like a smoke alarm, triggered by inflammatory smoke. And that, my friends, is the best news you'll hear all day. If pain is inflammation, then it's something we can address. You can live with moderate or even severe osteoarthritis and be pain-free. Our main goal isn't to magically regrow new cartilage. It's to put out the fire of inflammation and tackle the root cause that keeps it flaring up again and again. And this is absolutely achievable. We often hear that pain is inflammation, and that complete rest isn't always the answer. So, what do many active people do? They grit their teeth and head straight to the gym, determined to work through that sore knee. Their motto? No pain, no gain. But this approach is actually another extreme, and it can be just as harmful. Think about your car. If the engine suddenly starts making a strange knocking sound, what's your first instinct? To take it to the mechanic, of course. You wouldn't dream of flooring the accelerator, hoping that the noise will just magically disappear, or that the engine will somehow get stronger from it, would you? That's just illogical. Well, your knee is no different. Pain is your body's clear stop signal, telling you, hold on, something's not right here. It's not an invitation to be a hero or push your limits. When you insist on continuing your usual squats, lunges, or running through that pain, you're actively ignoring a crucial message. You're literally forcing those already inflamed tissues to rub and get damaged even further. In essence, you're just pouring fuel onto the fire of inflammation. Yes, movement is absolutely vital, but it has to be the right kind of movement. What we call therapeutic movement. When you're experiencing acute pain, your goal shouldn't be about setting new personal bests or lifting heavy. Instead, the focus should shift to relieving stress on the joint, improving blood circulation, and gently activating those sleeping muscles that aren't quite pulling their weight. Pushing through acute pain isn't a sign of strong willpower. It's actually a direct and speedy route from minor discomfort to severe joint degeneration, and ultimately, potentially needing surgery. Our real task is to learn to truly listen to our bodies rather than fighting against them. We need to discover that sweet spot, that golden mean, where movement genuinely heals and supports us, instead of causing further damage. Many of us believe that if something hurts, the best thing to do is complete rest. Lie down, elevate the limb, perhaps even put on a tight brace, and try not to move at all. Sounds logical, doesn't it? If it's broken, don't touch it. But here's the insidious trap. For an ailing joint, complete rest is like stopping watering a wilting flower. You're only hastening its demise. Let's understand how this works. Imagine the cartilage in your joint as a sponge. This sponge doesn't have its own blood vessels. It can't draw nourishment directly from the blood like our muscles do. Its only food and drink is the special joint fluid that surrounds it. Now here's the crucial part. This fluid only starts to circulate and nourish the cartilage when there's movement. When you bend and straighten your knee, you're essentially squeezing and releasing this sponge. When it's compressed, waste products are pushed out. And when it's released, it soaks up fresh, nutrient-rich lubricant. When you completely immobilize your leg, you shut down this pump. Nourishment stops. The joint literally begins to starve and dry out. It doesn't recover. In fact, it degenerates even faster. So complete rest isn't a cure. It's a path to making the problem worse. What we need is movement, but not just any movement. We need the right kind of therapeutic movement, which we'll talk about soon. And now, perhaps, the most crucial insight from this entire video. Are you ready? Your knee is essentially a hostage. It's almost never the primary culprit. In the vast majority of cases, the root cause of your pain isn't actually in the knee itself. Instead, it lies in its neighbours, the joints directly above and below it. Specifically, we're talking about your foot and your hip. Imagine a simple chain made of 3 links. The outer links have a great deal of freedom. They can rotate and move in many different directions. The middle link, however, is much simpler. It can only bend and straighten, moving in just one plane. Your knee is precisely that middle, straightforward link. Your foot and your hip, on the other hand, are the complex, multidirectional joints, the sophisticated ends of the chain. Here's what happens when your foot or your hip stop performing their job correctly. Perhaps they're stiff, weak, or simply moving inefficiently. They begin to misbehave or move in ways they shouldn't, and your poor knee, caught right in between, is forced to compensate for their shortcomings. It starts to move off its natural axis, perhaps twisting slightly or shifting sideways. Essentially, it's doing things it was never designed to do. Every single one of these incorrect movements, every awkward step, every squat, causes a tiny, almost imperceptible injury, a microtrauma. Over thousands of such repetitions, this continuous unnatural stress eventually causes the knee joint to wear down and break. This is why simply treating the knee in isolation while ignoring the foot and hip is utterly pointless. It's like trying to patch a crack in the wall of a house when the very foundation has shifted. You can paint over it, but it won't solve the real problem. To truly fix things, you need to address the entire structure. Let's begin right at the very foundation of our bodies, your feet. It might surprise you to learn just how many people don't make the crucial connection between their foot health and their knees, and that's an oversight we really ought to address. It's rather like building a beautiful house but ignoring the growing cracks in its foundation. Your foot is a marvel of natural engineering, a built-in shock absorber. Its arch, like a perfectly tuned spring, is designed to cushion the impact of every step, safeguarding all the joints higher up, especially your knees. But what happens when this natural shock absorber isn't working as it should? Perhaps you have flat feet, or what's often referred to as pronation, where your foot rolls inwards excessively. With every step you take, instead of a gentle spring, your foot essentially gives way. This creates a chain reaction. The shin bone above it begins to rotate inwards, and your knee, caught right in the middle between your shin and thigh bone, is forced to follow this unnatural rotation. It then endures an unhealthy, twisting stress, for which it was simply not designed. And this isn't just an occasional occurrence. It happens with every single step you take, thousands, even tens of thousands of times a day. Day after day, year after year. You could be diligently doing the very best knee exercises, but if, with every step, your foundation is constantly undermining the entire structure, then I'm afraid it's a battle you'll never truly win. This is precisely why our primary focus must be on ensuring the health and proper function of our feet. Right, so we've covered the basics, haven't we? Now let's move a bit higher, to the real brains of the operation, or if you like, the puppet master that controls your entire leg. And this puppet master, believe it or not, is right there in your bum. Yes, we're talking about your gluteal muscles, your glutes. Lots of people just think of them as a handy cushion for sitting on. But actually, they're the most powerful muscle group in your entire body. Normally, it's these glutes that stabilize your pelvis when you walk and keep your thigh bone perfectly in place, stopping it from wobbling all over the shop. They're the absolute powerhouse that keeps your entire leg structure stable and aligned. But for most of us these days, thanks to all that sitting around, these muscles are practically asleep. They're weakened and simply don't switch on when they're supposed to. And what happens then? Well, when this powerful centre is off duty, things start to go a bit haywire. With every step, your pelvis dips a little to the side, and your thigh bone, left without proper control, starts to twist and roll inwards. Now here's the crucial question. Where does your knee follow that thigh? Exactly. Inwards too. That's when you get that knock-knee look, which literally grinds away at the inside of your knee joint. A weak, sleeping glute is almost a guaranteed recipe for your knee being forced to work in a damaging, incorrect way. So, trying to fix your knee without first waking up those glutes is quite frankly a completely pointless exercise. Right, if your glutes are weak, then something needs strengthening, doesn't it? And this is where many people, especially those who hit the gym, make a common mistake. They start heavily training, or pumping up, the front of the thigh, which is your quadriceps. Think leg extensions on a machine, or squats that really target the front of your leg. It seems logical enough. A stronger muscle should mean a more stable knee, but in reality, it often just makes things worse. It's a bit like an all-wheel drive car where you disconnect the back wheels and send all the power to the front. The car will quickly become unstable and start to slide. In our leg, we have two opposing muscle groups, the powerful quadriceps at the front and the muscles at the back of the thigh, commonly known as the hamstrings. Ideally, these two groups should be in balance. However, for most of us, the quadriceps is already often tight and dominant, while the back of the thigh and your glutes are weak and stretched. When you then start to overtrain an already strong quadriceps even more, you only make this imbalance worse. An over-tight front muscle begins to pull the kneecap upwards, pressing it against the joint and creating extra friction and pressure. And a weak posterior or rear muscle group simply can't counteract that. The result is that you don't stabilize the joint at all. In fact, you pull it further out of alignment. So our goal isn't just to blindly strengthen everything, it's to restore that crucial balance, relaxing the over-tight front muscles and strengthening the weak ones at the back. We often hear about the importance of strengthening weak muscles, don't we? But there's another equally vital aspect we shouldn't overlook: those muscles that become tight or go into spasm. They really need to be stretched and relaxed. Think of your knee as a tent. The muscles and ligaments surrounding it are like the guy ropes that keep it stable. If all those ropes are evenly tensioned, the tent stands perfectly straight and firm. Now picture this. You tighten one of those ropes, say one on the side, to its absolute limit, so it's practically humming with tension. What happens to the tent? Exactly. It pulls awkwardly to one side, and all the pressure ends up on just one of its stakes. It's much the same with your knee. There are a few key muscles that, because of a lot of sitting or incorrect movements and strains, can become short and rigid, almost like steel cables. Chief among these are the muscles at the front of your thigh, which we've mentioned before, and something called the tensor fasciae latae, or TFL, which runs down the side of your thigh. This tensor muscle can be a real troublemaker for your knee. When it's tight or in spasm, it pulls on a thick band of connective tissue, often called the IT band, that runs all the way down the side of your leg and attaches just below the knee. This band, when taut like a guitar string, starts to rub against the bone. This friction can cause significant inflammation and a sharp pain on the outside of your knee, often referred to as runner's knee. You might not even realize that the root cause of your knee pain could be this small but incredibly tight knot of muscle high up on your hip. That's why stretching and relaxing these particular areas is such a crucial step towards having healthy, happy knees. Right then, let's have a chat about something really simple, yet often completely overlooked: water. Yes, plain, ordinary drinking water. Remember how we talked about cartilage being like a sponge and joint fluid like a good lubricant? Well, that special fluid called synovial fluid is actually about 80% water. When your body isn't getting enough water, it has to start saving where it can. And the first places it looks to borrow water from are what it sees as less critical systems. Sadly, our joints often end up on that list. So, what happens when that lubricant, your joint fluid, doesn't have enough water? It gets thick and sticky. Think of it like old engine oil that's been left too long. It stops cushioning properly and can't deliver nutrients. Imagine trying to turn a complex old clockwork mechanism, but instead of nice fluid oil, it's been greased with thick treacle or jelly. Things would seize up, wouldn't they? Movement gets harder and friction goes right up. And that sponge-like cartilage we talked about, it doesn't get enough moisture or nutrients. It starts to dry out, becoming brittle and much more prone to damage. You know, sometimes people start doing all the right exercises, but they see very little improvement. Yet, the moment they simply sort out their water intake, that nagging discomfort and the creaking in their knees can noticeably lessen. So, before you rush off to spend your hard-earned money on expensive supplements, just ask yourself one simple question: am I actually drinking enough plain, clear water every day? And I mean water, not juice, not tea, not coffee, which can actually make you lose fluid. Just good old pure water. It really is the cheapest and easiest way to give your joints a helping hand from the inside out. Doctor, what can I eat to help my cartilage recover? That's a question I hear all the time, and pharmacy shelves are overflowing with jars of collagen, chondroitin, and glucosamine. People spend a fortune on these, all hoping for a miracle cure. But let's be honest, trying to repair a joint with supplements alone It's like trying to build a house by only delivering bricks to the site, while forgetting the cement, the water, and the builders themselves. It just doesn't work like that. Your body is a complex system, so ditch those expensive, ineffective pills. Instead, let's look at 3 key foods you can add to your diet that aren't just single bricks, but a whole building kit for your joints. First up, bone broth. And I don't mean the quick, watery stuff from a stock cube. I'm talking about real slow-simmered broth made from bones, cartilage and joints. This is a natural source of collagen and glucosamine in a form your body can easily absorb. Second, fatty fish. Think salmon, mackerel and herring. These are packed with omega-3 fatty acids, and omega-3s are your body's natural firefighters tackling inflammation head-on. Remember, we often talk about pain being inflammation. Well, this is your key to putting out that fire from the inside. And third, foods rich in sulfur. We're talking onions, garlic, cabbage, and eggs. Sulfur is a vital mineral, essential for collagen synthesis. Without it, those bricks simply won't stick together properly. It's simple, affordable, and far more effective than any pill you could buy. We all know that nagging pain is often our body's way of telling us there's some inflammation going on. And while that internal fire is burning, even the simplest movement can feel like a real challenge. Now, of course, you could reach for an over-the-counter anti-inflammatory. It'll probably give you quick relief from the symptoms. But let's be honest, those medications often come with their own set of drawbacks, especially when it comes to our sensitive stomachs. But what if I told you that quite likely you already have everything you need right in your own kitchen to create a powerful, all-natural, anti-inflammatory remedy? This isn't some complicated concoction. In fact, its effectiveness has been proven over centuries in traditional medicine and is now even backed by modern research. You'll only need 3 simple ingredients. First up, we have turmeric. Its star compound, curcumin, is widely recognised as one of nature's most potent anti-inflammatory agents, powerful enough to rival some conventional medicines. Then there's ginger. Not only does it help combat inflammation, but it also improves circulation, which is wonderful for getting those vital nutrients right where they're needed, to your troubled joints. And for our third, rather clever ingredient, we need just a tiny pinch of black pepper. Now, black pepper itself won't directly heal your joints, but here's the clever bit. It contains a compound called piperine, which can increase your body's ability to absorb the goodness from turmeric by 10, even 100 times. Without it, sadly, most of that wonderful turmeric would simply pass right through without much benefit. So here's how to make it. Simply mix half a teaspoon each of turmeric and ginger powder, add that crucial pinch of black pepper, then pour in some warm water, give it a good stir, and enjoy. If you make this simple drink a regular part of your routine, it can truly help your body naturally calm inflammation and get your joints ready for real, lasting recovery. All right, we've done a good job preparing our bodies from the inside and calming down that inflammation. Now it's time to get moving. But where do we begin? Especially when your knee aches even during a simple walk. It would be crazy to jump straight into squats or lunges. What we need is the safest, most fundamental exercise, one you can even do while seated. Its purpose isn't to bulk up your muscles, but to get that pump working that we've discussed, to improve the circulation of joint fluid, helping to lubricate and nourish your cartilage. Sit comfortably on the edge of a sturdy chair. Your knees should be bent at a right angle and your feet flat on the floor. Keep your back nice and straight. Now very slowly and with complete control, begin to extend one leg straight out from the knee. Imagine you're moving your leg through thick jelly, feeling the gentle resistance. Extend until you feel a mild tension in the front of your thigh, but never to the point where your knee locks or, most importantly, where you feel any pain. Hold that position for a brief moment, just a second. Then, just as slowly and with the same control, gently lower your leg back to the starting position. Don't let it drop. Instead, guide it down, controlling every inch of the movement. Aim for 15 to 20 of these smooth repetitions on each leg. You shouldn't feel any pain or hear any crunching sounds. If you feel any discomfort at all, simply reduce the range of motion. Think of this exercise as a gentle warm-up for your joints. It's completely safe, helps nourish your cartilage, and gently prepares your muscles for more demanding work down the line. This is your vital first step in your journey to better joint health. Exercise is absolutely wonderful, isn't it? But sometimes we forget about those stubborn, tight muscles around our knees. They can get a bit knotted up, pulling the joint just a tiny bit out of its proper place. And until we help those muscles relax, you might not feel completely comfortable or get lasting relief. But here's the good news. You don't need a fancy, expensive massage therapist for this. Your best friend in this little project is just a simple tennis ball. This clever yet simple technique is called myofascial release. Now that sounds rather grand, doesn't it? But really, it just means self-massage. It's a wonderful way to ease tension from your muscles and the surrounding connective tissue. Right, let's get started. Find a comfy spot, either on the floor or a sturdy chair. Grab your tennis ball and place it under your thigh. Now, very slowly, gently, roll it all over your thigh, the front, the back, and the sides. What you're looking for are those little spots that feel particularly sore or tight. You'll recognize them. They often feel like small, uncomfortable knots or bumps. Once you discover one of these spots, just stop the ball there. No need to keep rolling. Simply settle onto it, using your body weight to apply gentle, steady pressure. It should feel like a good discomfort, perhaps a 7 out of 10. Definitely noticeable, but never sharp or agonizing pain. Take some lovely deep, slow breaths. After about 20 to 30 seconds, you'll often notice a lovely sensation. The muscle under the ball will start to melt and relax, and that discomfort will begin to ease away. Do pay extra attention to the outer part of your thigh. That's often where those stubborn tighteners hide, and also the front of your thigh, your quadriceps. By regularly rolling these areas, you're releasing all that extra tension that's been pulling on your knee. Think of it like adjusting the guy ropes on a tent. If they're too tight, the tent can be pulled out of shape. Loosen them up, and the tent stands perfectly straight again. It's so simple, so easy to do, and truly wonderfully effective. Now, I'm going to tell you something that might seem completely unrelated to your knees at first glance, but believe me, the connection is absolutely direct. Let's talk about your breathing. Yes, that's right. How you breathe every single day, every single minute. Most of us, whether we're feeling stressed or simply spending a lot of time sitting down, tend to breathe incorrectly. We often breathe shallowly, right up in our chests, often lifting our shoulders as we do. This is what's known as stress breathing, and it creates a general, underlying tension that spreads right through your whole body. When you breathe like that, your main breathing muscle, your diaphragm, hardly does any work at all. Instead, the smaller, helper muscles in your neck, shoulders and back have to take over, and they end up constantly overworked and tense. This tension then travels down through your muscle chains, just like electricity through wires spreading right through your entire body. Your nervous system actually goes into fight or flight mode. This makes the muscles throughout your whole body, including those in your legs, become stiffer and more constricted. They don't relax as well and don't get enough blood. Remember how we talked about those tight muscles that pull on your knee? Well, shallow breathing is a big reason why they get tight to begin with. Try this right now. Place one hand on your chest and the other on your stomach. Now take a few slow, deep breaths in and out. Your aim is to breathe in such a way that only the hand on your stomach moves up and down while your chest stays completely still. That's what we call proper diaphragmatic breathing. Just 5 minutes of this practice every day can help switch your nervous system into rest and digest mode, relieving that overall tension from your body. And that, in turn, indirectly but very noticeably, gives a real boost to your knees as well. What if nothing else works and the doctor suggests a shot in the joint? They're usually talking about hyaluronic acid injections, often called a liquid prosthesis, or joint lubricant. Sounds very high-tech and promising, doesn't it? You pay your money, get the injection, and suddenly your knee feels brand new. But let's take a closer look at what's really going on. Now, hyaluronic acid is a crucial part of our natural joint fluid. When it's injected, it does temporarily increase the thickness and volume of that lubricant. This can certainly reduce friction and ease the pain for a bit. But the key word here, my friends, is temporarily. Imagine your car's oil level keeps dropping because there's a leak somewhere. Sure, you can keep topping it up with fresh oil. The car will run. But does that actually fix the leak? Of course not. It's pretty much the same story with these hyaluronic acid shots. You're not actually tackling why your own joint fluid isn't working as it should, or why you're not producing enough of it. You're not addressing any muscle imbalances that might be wearing down the joint. You're not making any changes to your lifestyle. What you're really doing is just buying yourself some temporary relief, a rather expensive crutch for your joint. What's more, some studies even suggest that regular injections might actually suppress your body's ability to produce its own hyaluronic acid. So in a way, you could end up getting hooked on these shots, much like a dependency. Now, in very rare, severe cases, as a temporary measure, it might be justified, but to see it as a magic bullet or a permanent solution, that, my friends, is a huge and very costly misunderstanding. Let's talk about something that impacts your knees thousands of times every single day, yet you might not even think twice about it: your footwear. You could be doing all the right exercises, eating perfectly, but if you're spending 8 hours a day in the wrong shoes, you're quite simply undermining all your good efforts. So what kind of footwear is the number one enemy for your knees? Firstly, it's high heels. They shift your centre of gravity forward, forcing your knees to stay slightly bent and overloading the front of the joint. This is a direct route to patellofemoral osteoarthritis, often called runner's knee, or simply wear and tear around the kneecap. Secondly, and perhaps surprisingly, it's shoes with an absolutely flat, thin sole and no arch support. Think ballet flats or some types of canvas sneakers. This kind of footwear offers virtually no cushioning. Every step on a hard surface like asphalt is a micro-impact, transferring that shock directly from your foot right up into your knee. What's more, without proper arch support, your foot can start to roll inwards, triggering a cascade of improper movement that puts unnecessary strain on your joints. And thirdly, watch out for shoes that are too narrow and squeeze your toes. This disrupts your foot's natural mechanics as you push off the ground, once again throwing your entire walking biomechanics out of whack. So, what's the ideal shoe for healthy knees? Look for footwear with a small, stable heel of about 2 to 3 centimeters, a flexible yet supportive sole that offers good cushioning, and a wide enough toe box so your toes can spread out comfortably. Take a moment to look at your everyday shoes. It's quite possible the biggest enemy to your knees is sitting right there in your hallway. We've discussed many of the physical reasons behind knee pain, but there's another vital aspect that often gets overlooked: psychosomatics. This is the profound connection between our emotional well-being and our physical health. Now, let's be clear. This isn't about suggesting you've imagined your pain. Osteoarthritis, for example, is a very real physical change within the joint. However, our psycho-emotional state can act as a powerful catalyst, intensifying the pain and significantly hindering the healing process. From a psychosomatic perspective, our knees often symbolize our flexibility in life, our ability to adapt, to bend rather than break, to move forward, and to embrace new directions. Knee pain can frequently be linked to stubbornness, a reluctance to change one's perspective, or even a fear of what lies ahead. That sentiment of, "I won't bend, I won't give in," can, in a sense, be interpreted literally by our bodies, manifesting as stiffness and pain in the very joints designed for bending and movement. Chronic stress, too, plays a huge part. When we're constantly under pressure, our bodies produce cortisol, often called the stress hormone. High levels of cortisol sustain systemic inflammation throughout the entire body, including our joints, so that stress from your daily life could literally be fanning the flames of inflammation in your knees. I'm certainly not suggesting you should only look for the cause of your pain in your mind, but it is crucial to understand that our body and mind are intricately connected, truly a single, integrated system. By learning to manage stress, by practicing relaxation techniques, mindfulness, or meditation, you're not just improving your mood, you're actually creating a far more favorable biochemical environment within your body, one where inflammation can subside and healing processes can accelerate significantly. Now, for the one crucial secret your doctor might not have fully explained to you, perhaps because they wanted you to keep coming back for appointments. The truth is, your knee pain is almost never actually about the knee itself. Your knee is simply the innocent bystander, taking the brunt of issues originating elsewhere in your body. Imagine your house's foundation, your feet, is uneven, and the roof, your pelvis, is tilted. What happens to the walls and windows? Your knees. That's right, they'll start to crack and crumble. For years you've been trying to patch up those cracks in your knees with pills and injections, when all along the real solution was to fix the foundation and the roof. Realizing this is that aha moment, the game changer, that completely shifts your perspective. You stop being a victim of your ailing joint and become the architect of your own healthy body. So let's recap. Knee pain isn't a life sentence, and it's certainly not an inevitable part of getting older. It's a signal your body is sending you, a signal about muscle imbalances, poor nutrition, and unhealthy habits. Restoring your joints without surgery isn't a miracle. It's systematic work based on truly understanding your own body. You're not just masking the pain, you're addressing its root cause step by step, reclaiming your freedom of movement. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. If you found this information helpful and it's given you some hope, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on more insights for natural drug-free health. And now, a question for you. What methods or exercises have helped you manage your knee pain? Please share your experiences in the comments below. Let's help each other lead healthier, happier lives.